Hi everybody, this is Cindy from Ideas Times 2, and I have a short tutorial for you today. At least I hope it's short. I'm going to do most of the sewing off camera, so I think it should be fairly quick. I don't know what the weather is like where you are today, but here it is dismal. It is gray and overcast, it's raining. Kind of the perfect day to stay inside and craft. And so that's my plan for the day. I've got tons of projects I'm working on, and I thought I would take a break from my current journal, which is a fairly big project, to do a short tutorial with you today. So if you saw our guest design team video for Tracy Fox, you saw that I had made a small file folder folio, and it was full of all of the ephemera that I made that didn't fit in the journal because I made too much, as usual. I have a tendency to overstuff my journals, and so I made a small file folder, and there was a number of people expressed interest in it, and I thought I would share how I made it. And there are no tricks. This is super easy. In fact, it is so easy it's kind of embarrassing. But if you are new to paper crafting and junk journaling, this hopefully will help. So these two, my examples, you can see, are made with a purple file folder and a hanging folder, and measures about 6 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. There's a small little gusset on each side, and I've just closed it with twine. And on the end of the twine on both of my examples here, I have a fairly heavy charm, just to give it a little bit of weight. And when you open them up, they have two pockets, and the pockets can hold a lot of ephemera, little journals and whatnots. And so these are two stuffed folios that we have in our Etsy shop, and so I'm just using them for the examples today. You can see how easy these are. So I'm going to move these to the side and kind of show you my method for doing this. Super easy. So what you are going to need is a hanging file folder. This one happens to be vintage. I work in a school. I'm a teacher. I'm an English teacher. And teachers are a little bit like locusts. You know, when we see office supplies, when we see classroom organizer things, we're on it like locusts. And we had a teacher workday a couple of weeks ago, and somebody had enough time to clean their file cabinets, and instead of throwing their discards into the bin for recycling or out into the dumpster, they put them in our mailroom. And I saw them in there, and I grabbed them because it's got such a beautiful patina. I love this color. But if you weren't lucky enough to find some vintage ones, there are lots of options that you will find at, I got this one at Staples, as you can see. It's got the name on it. Just your standard file folder. Luckily, this one has just the name right there, so it's easy to make that disappear. These, I thought the colors were just gorgeous. These are Pendaflex, and they all came in the same box that I picked up on Amazon. Excuse me. And the colors, I think, are gorgeous. And I've used the teal, which is one of my favorite colors, already to do another folio. And I'm just kind of hanging on to these colors right now. I don't want to do too many folios for our Etsy shop, but I just think they're fun, they're easy to make, and are a nice little addition to a larger gift, or to help keep your ephemera organized. Which, I don't know about you, but I'm always looking for ways to organize my craft room. So What you're going to need, the file folder, like I already said. You're going to need some glue. I'm going to use my handy dandy Fabri-Tac. I love Fabri-Tac. You'll also need, if you want to round your corners, you'll need your corner rounder to make the closure, which I have no idea what that little circle thing is called, but you're going to need a hole punch or a very steady hand. So you'll need those. On the exemplar, you'll see that I inked the edges, so you'll want some ink and a dauber if that's a look you want to go for with vintage. You can see I also stitched all the way around. I also stitched the pockets on the inside, and they don't need to be. If you don't have a sewing machine, or if you're not a sewer, it's not a problem. They don't need to be at all. I think they're cute either way. It's just a look I happen to like, so I sewed mine using a zigzag stitch. And so, time to get started. So, the first thing you need to do is cut off the ends. And oh wow, these little metal pieces don't always come out that easily, but I think because these are old. I have not figured out a use for these yet, although actually as I say that I just had an idea. I think a pretty good idea that I'm going to hang on to to try it out before I share the idea. But you want to take these, if they don't come out easily, don't worry about it, because we're going to cut off the entire edge here on both sides. I don't discard these at all. I hang on to them. I love these. They make really interesting trim, where most people would use lace or fabric. I use these. They make good belly bands. You can do all sorts of stuff with them. So I hang on to these. I put those in my journals. And then you're going to want to cut off, see, it's 11.5 inches. So I'm going to cut off 3 inches, because I want this to be about 8 inches high. So my blade is getting really dull. And I just ordered a whole bunch of new ones and then discovered I ordered the wrong kind, and they don't work in this at all. I'm going to trim this down. I accidentally cut off a little too much on one end. All right, so then you're going to have a piece that looks like this. One thing that's really nice about using the file folders is that they are already scored, so you don't need to worry about that. So on the one end, at the score line, you're just going to fold it over, and that's going to be your flap. And then I also, this one already, because this is an actual vintage journal, it's already been kind of folded at a couple of the score marks, but I always like to do this before I do anything else, because it's harder to get those lines once everything is put together. You're going to want to have a little bit of a gusset there, and then on this side, you'll notice the side is much longer, and you'll notice on this journal, or on this file folder, it's got the name right here, and this, you're going to cut this part off. These old ones don't have that, but I'm still going to trim it right at that score line, and that will give me a perfectly sized little folio. So I'm going to cut that off, and there's your basic construction. It really, I told you it was easy. It really is that easy. Basic construction. And so, you know, I think I am going to get out my scoreboard anyway, even though I just said you didn't need it. Because I'm going to put a score line right here on we'll just do one mark over, because that will give us a little bit of room for growth on our flap there. All right, so still pretty easy, huh? I'm going to round my edges because I like, especially if I want something to look vintagey, I like it to have rounded corners because I think it is, you know, kind of natural wear and tear always rounds corners naturally anyway, right? So basic construction right there. With your extra pieces, you can hang on to these, and I'll show you a couple of different things you can do with these. And for the inside flaps, you're going to want to have maybe some coordinating paper, a heavier cardstock to make your pockets, or if you have another file folder, which is what I'm going to use because I messed up I've messed up a couple of times. You think I've made these often enough, it would not be an issue, but sometimes you know, sometimes everybody makes mistakes. And so I'm going to cut a couple of tuck spots using some discards, and this is about 4 inches wide, and I'm going to make it 5 inches tall. So I'm going to cut 2 out at 5 inches, which is about right here. And that will give me 2 little pockets, one for each side here. And this one obviously needs to be rounded in the corner. And that will go here. This one will go here. And on my examples, boy, I made a mess when I was getting my my scoreboard out. On my examples, I trimmed this down to give it an angle, and I did 2 inches down to 2 inches is what my angle was. So I'm going to mark that at 2 inches, and I'll mark this at 2.5 inches. So I just marked 2 inches here, 2.5 inches here, and I'm going to trim that down to get my angle, so it'll look kind of like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. And so this will go here, and this will go here. So if you are not going to sew, you can just glue this down right here and here, and glue it here. And this one, make sure that the rounded corner is, sorry, I didn't realize I was off, out of frame there, the rounded corner here, and then you're almost done. I'm going to sew all the way around my edges and around my pockets, and I will do that now, and I will be right back. Well, that took me a little longer than I thought it would. I ran out of bobbin thread, of course. Of course I did, but you can see I used black thread to do my zigzag stitching, and on the pockets I just did the sides kind of as if I were intending to sew, or the pockets were sewn on rather than glued on, but I'm going to glue them. This one, obviously you could easily sew it directly. This one, if you do sew it directly on here, you're going to wind up having another seam here on the outside, which I did not want, which is why I'm going to glue it. And I'm going to be using Fabri-Tac, and maybe I'm going to be using Fabri-Tac. A little glob there on the end. Here we go. And I had already rounded that corner, and so the rounded corner goes on the left side, and the square corner goes on the right side. Okay, so there is your basic folio, and now I want to make a closure, and I'm going to use some of my paper scraps to cut out 3 circles. I usually do 3 because I want it to be nice and sturdy, and even though this is very sturdy cardstock, I like to go with 3. And I'm going to glue them together. There are lots of different ways that you can do this, and I think I'm very inconsistent. I am always trying new ways of doing things, and I usually just glue 3 of these together, use my little dauber to kind of give it a little more aged patina on the edge. And then using my crocodile, I punch a hole in the middle, or as close to the middle as I can. I'm not very, the crocodile comes with, the little ruler and all the stuff, and you're supposed to be able to line everything up and everything's perfect. I have never been able to figure out those things. There's a reason I'm an English teacher. I'm not a measurer. I'm not a I try to be precise. I am a little bit of a perfectionist, but at the same time, I like instant gratification as well. So then I'm going to put another hole about in the center of, as close as I can without standing up to get a better view. And I'm just going to then use the eyelet setter, maybe. It is so humid today. My rheumatoid arthritis is kind of acting up, and I try to keep active because it actually hurts less when I'm doing stuff, but sometimes it's hard to do stuff when it's hurting. So there we go. Now I'm going to grab some twine. I like to have a very long closure. I like to wrap it multiple times, so I am just going to use your basic standard twine and put it. It's really tight right now, but as you use it, it loosens up. Wendy has a really good method. If you've seen any of Wendy's journal adventures, she has a couple of tutorials that have a really good, she has a really good method for putting in these circles, whatever these things happen to be called. And I'm sure that other people have much better methods than I do, but that's kind of the gist of what I do. And I have a little camera charm. I'm going to hopefully, hey Lizzie, you checking everything out? Lizzie winds up being in almost all of my videos, but she is definitely not as friendly as Wendy's Leo is. Leo is always wanting love and affection. Lizzie just is a little bit more mischievous, and she wants to play with everything. And so I just knotted this on the end, and it will wrap around a couple of times, and once it's full, maybe just once, I'll loop this through around a couple of times, and there you go. Pretty simple. Doesn't get much simpler than that, right? And then you can fill it up with, hey there, with whatever you want. And so, I've got these full of your standard ephemera, and that's literally really all you need to do. If you would like to do the edges a little bit, give them a little bit of little patina. I always give a little extra on my folds. Because that's naturally where where they happen. And I know you don't want to watch me ink up the edges on camera, so I will cut that out. But they're just now ready to be filled. You can use them for anything. And I did want to show you some little projects that I did using the scraps. And so this one, you can see I sewed the that edge piece right on here, and made this little tri-fold here of the little pocket, and it's got a couple of little tiny tags. And then when you fold it open, it's got just a little notebook that I sewed together. And for the closure, I just have one of Tracy Fox's loopy paper clips, And so that's one little project I did using the extra edge pieces. And for this one, I made here we go, a little matchbook, and have just another little notebook in here. And you know, we junk journalers don't let anything go to waste. We'll find a use for it. So save your scraps so that you can make you know, nifty little notebooks. So there you go. Hanging folder folios. It really is that easy. I have normally it takes me less time because you know, things always work better when I'm not on camera. You know, you would think after 20 years of teaching I would be comfortable, and I am comfortable in my classroom. I actually like teaching human beings better than the camera. So I have a hard time imagining that you're out there watching and learning because I can't see your faces. I hope that you got something from this today, and that you might want to give this a try. Super easy, and I think there are a lot of different things you can use these for. I just happen to be using them for ephemera. And thank you so much for watching today, for spending a little bit of your Sunday with me. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and if you are a teacher, this is Teacher Appreciation Week, so I hope you know that you are appreciated, that I appreciate you and the hard work you do. For those of you who are mothers, you know, teachers are kind of the you know, loco parenti, parent in place of the parent. So I'm kind of like a mom to a whole bunch of kids. But for those of you who are actual mothers, Mother's Day is coming up here in the U.S. in just another week. So happy Mother's Day to you if I don't see you before next Sunday. So have a fantastic week. Thank you so much. Check out our blog, ideastimes2.com, our Etsy store, which is also Ideas Times 2, or Instagram, Facebook, all Ideas Times 2, all one word, lowercase, and I'll have the links below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something, and sorry for my bumbling today. And for, you know, my cat's tail being in the video. So I don't know, if she and Leo were together, Wendy and I would never be able to get anything done. So thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.